What is going on, everybody? Victoria here, credit solutionist, fixmyficonow.com. It's been a while, everybody, and your girl is finally back. So thank you to those of you coming in. Thank you to those of you that are going to catch the replay. Whenever you come in, be sure to like the video. So you read what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about layoffs. We're talking about tech layoffs, regular layoffs, Meta, Amazon, Google. We talking about everybody because everybody's losing their job. Everybody's getting the axe. But we want to help you with that. So have no fear. We got you covered. Tonight, I'm bringing in my resident co-host. She doesn't know that yet, but backstage, we have your dream career coach, Miss Mentor Shelly, that is going to be able to give us some of the 411 on what to do if you're going to get laid off. So without further ado, let me bring on my girl, the dream career coach, Mentor Shelly.
Hey,
girl.
How y'all doing tonight?
All good, all good. So let me go ahead and get my music off here and go ahead and just introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are before we dive in. Girl.
This is Mentor Shelly, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, folks. We are in some very interesting times. There are tech companies, not only the ones that we're talking about tonight, but there are tech companies all over the place, Salesforce included, that are doing a lot of layoffs. I want you guys to be ready. I want you guys to have the tools you need to make your next move, because layoffs are never a pleasant experience, neither for the employer that's doing it or for the employees that are involved. Because of course, my HR and my career coach hat simultaneously works together. So I want you guys to be ready. That does happen to any of you, what needs to happen and how you're going to maneuver through that tonight. So we have something special planned for all of you that show up for the live tonight. Hello, Mr. John. How you doing? Welcome to the live, of course.
John Zeke, what up, dude? It's been forever. Thank you so much for stopping by. We totally appreciate you, and we hope that you will enjoy this conversation tonight.
Yes.
So, Mentor Shelly, so many things have been happening, dream career coach. So, I was sitting at home this week watching everybody biting the dust this week, whether it was Meta, whether it was Twitter, whether it was Stripe, whether it was Robinhood, Netflix, everybody just pew, pew, pew all over the place. Okay. They're shooting cans off of the fence. So I want to talk about this a little bit before we jump into some of these career tips. Now, yes, John, we know this is not your topic because you are totally out of the workforce. You are doing your thing. Okay. Girls, hit up John if you know, need somebody to hang out with. Now,
oh Lord.
Okay, so what I wanted to do first, though, is I wanted to kind of get your perspective as we cover some of these, some of these layoffs that have been happening. So for some reason, everybody's under the impression that whatever's happening with Twitter, Amazon, all these companies with these massive layoffs, is this a trend that is going to continue to happen? Is it something that's specific to the tech field, you think, or is it something that is happening on a countrywide basis?
It's happening across several industries. It's not just tech. Part of what's happening with tech right now, to be quite honest, is more of a correction than anything.
Okay.
Because of the pandemic, initially, a lot of the tech companies beefed up with staffing. A lot of them beefed up with work from home because they weren't necessarily sure how the pandemic was going to flesh out. So they beefed up with a lot of staffing, only for now for them to be looking 2 years later and things are now not necessarily panning out like they planned, or the technologies that they had in place. They thought more companies were going to either remain in the work from home space, or, there's some that have permanently, but not on a full-blown scale like maybe some of these companies had hoped. Or it could have been that they overshot. They said, we expect $50 billion, and they only got 5.
Got you.
It just depends on the specific industry. So especially with the Amazon, Twitter, and the Metas specifically, the Amazons are coming up with more technology to replace their people with automation. That I know for sure is a big reason
Mm-hmm.
why the Amazon specifically is going to be doing a lot more layoffs, because they're going to be doing a lot of they're going to either have where they had 5 people, they have a machine handling 5 people's work. They're very big they're very big on that type of movement as far as automation is concerned. So automation is a lot of these industries. That's unique to tech companies. There are other things that are affecting. There are some employers that are taking a very strong stand
Mm-hmm.
on the whole work from home thing, so they're losing people that way. They're letting people go. They're saying we only want X number of staff. Now, of course, we have the Mr. Twitter.
We're gonna talk about them, girl. I'm warming up,
We're
girl.
gonna
So that's
talk
why I'm
about
gonna
it.
let you finish, and then we're gonna talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, where Mr. Twitter himself, because boy is he in the headlines every 5 minutes. Because every time I look up MSNBC or MSN.com, it's about 5 articles a day being written about what he is or is not doing to Twitter, or
Yes.
he's firing folks, and he's rehiring folks, and he's telling folks, if you disagree with me, I'm going to turn. It's all kinds of madness going on over
Mm-hmm.
in the world of Twitter.
Gotcha.
Or he's going to charge for the this and the, we gonna talk about it. But
It's a hot mess. Is
a lot of
basically what you're saying.
hotmess.org. But there are other industries that automation is affecting. That there's other industries that other factors like inflation, which is a very real thing, y'all. I'm feeling it. Everybody that is going in the grocery store to buy food these days is feeling it. That's being, directly affecting other industries as well. Trucking is also affected. Of course, they need truckers, like they listen, like we need water every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha. Yeah.
there's pros and cons. There's a lot of ebbs and flows happening, especially post. I wouldn't say it's post pandemic, because there's an uptick now with COVID, but we're gonna talk about that anyway.
Yes.
So to answer your question fully, yes, there's tech industries that's definitely feeling the effects and is having to do layoffs. Some of them overshot, and they're now having to retract in a lot of ways. So this is what part of what the recession is going to bring on as well.
All right, all right. Now, I've definitely done my research on this topic as far as the current layoffs that are happening at this time. So, of course, we're going to dive
Right.
into it. But when I look at the situation with Twitter, it is a little bit unique to me because we are pretty much getting the inside track, supposedly, on what is happening with, a CEO that's pretty much going back and forth, is a little bipolar, excuse the expression, everybody, but he's a bit bipolar. Today it's one thing, and then tomorrow he kind of goes whatever way the wind blows. However, I do think he's more of a symptom of what is happening in our economy right now. So, while I understand that there are a lot of people that are up in arms with what's happening right now in his company, I, for one, am not that shocked by what is actually happening. So, I don't say that I support it, but I'm not very shocked. Now,
Mm-mm.
I say this because I have a couple of questions about layoffs, but before I get into that and how it kind of, what my perspective is on Twitter, what I wanted to
Right.
know from you as the career coach, this is something you do every single day. I want people to understand what you do and, understand the depth of of what you do here. Is there
Mhm.
a difference between me walking into my job on Friday and getting a pink slip saying that I'm fired versus my company saying that we have to make some cuts and I'm going to be laid off? Is there a difference between those two methods of termination?
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
Um, the reason for your termination, if it is deemed as a layoff, how it affects unemployment, you filing unemployment versus you being straight up terminated involuntarily, because a layoff is an involuntary termination. But what it actually does, it provides a way for you to, if it's okay, they said they laid off X number of people, your likelihood of obtaining unemployment from the state is high. And the employer, of course, already has unemployment insurance, especially depending on the size of the employer for the most part. And if you're with that employer for 6 months or more, they are supposed to pay your unemployment benefits.
Mm-hmm.
That's managed through an insurance policy. If they're a for-profit company, now the nonprofits is a whole nother bowl of wax.
Whole
But
nother.
whole other ball of wax. I'm sure you're familiar with that from a
Mhm.
personal level.
Yep.
But for just regular good old fashioned involuntary termination, if you have been terminated based on a performance issue, whether it be attendance or something along those lines, your termination or your unemployment can be challenged. So it's not necessarily that both of them are considered involuntary terminations. It's effective or it's different when you start talking about subjects like unemployment. Or if you're talking about subjects like what other benefits can you qualify for with the government or with the state after you have been let go. Um, of course, being terminated for performance is an individual thing. Being terminated because you got laid off with 20,000 other people is something else. And if you're being laid off with a bunch of other people, make sure you beat the clock to file for that unemployment, because depending on what's going on, there may be some issues with processing your claim. But for the most part, it's only treated differently when you start talking about, well, what happens after this? 9 times out of 10, most people are going to file for unemployment and start looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And some states require something different. They have to report how many jobs they applied for this week as part of their obtaining benefits and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Some states require that, some states don't, or some states require more of that. So they're pretty much the same thing. It's just that they're pretty much the same thing as far as how it's handled afterwards. And also, when you are out there looking for a job, the minute you say, what happened with this job, you say layoff, most employers, when they're interviewing you, is not really going to go further or push further to find out why. Now, a regular involuntary termination, it's going to make a difference as far as they're going to want to know a little bit more. They're going to want to know what happened. Because being terminated, being involuntary terminated is not something that's necessarily desirable in the marketplace as an employee. If you do leave, you want to be able to leave of your own volition. If you have not done so, or you have been terminated for cause, now based on what that cause is, they're going to look the reputation or the relationship the professional relationship you're trying to form is going to be a little. They might look at you a little sideways if you said it was for performance, because then they're going to be like, "You're going to bring that foolishness to us too."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it also depends. Most likely, whenever employer hears layoff, or whoever is interviewing you layoff, most likely the first thing that pops up in their head, the assumption is there was some, bottom line issue that they just had to get rid of people to save the company, or it's for fiscal reasons, most likely. That has nothing to do with the employee per se. It's just that they were in the wrong department at the wrong time.
All right, got you.
It happens.
So essentially what I hear you saying is that a termination, if you guys are catching the replay, a termination is not a good thing, because it insinuates that there was something with your conduct or otherwise where it's pretty much a voluntary termination kind of thing, a voluntary separation in a way.
Involuntary based on your actions.
Based on your actions, exactly. So I say voluntary because you was acting up. So when we say now with but with the layoff, because of the lingo, it's very important that people understand the differences here, because a termination due to conduct is not the same as a layoff. You will actually be given a little bit of grace, especially in this economy. Now, what I wanted to kind of shed some light on, and the reason I asked you that question is because I have a feeling that a lot of people are under the impression that once they're laid off, that maybe this is a sign that, they need to just take a break. Maybe some people see it as, it's kind of a hit to their ego and they could feel inadequate for a while. So, in your opinion, when you're laid off or terminated, even, you know, is it something that you should look at as an opportunity to, I guess, kind of get sad and mope about? Or is it something where you can kind of reflect back on it and look at new opportunities when you are laid off? Like, is it the end of the world?
Absolutely not. Um, you have to also consider the people get terminated from jobs all the time.
True.
If it's tied to, let's say, a layoff, that was more like unpredictable, and it's not just you, it's a group of you.
Mm-hmm.
Could be 25 of you, it could be 2,500 of you. It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
People, especially since the pandemic, have been looking at, okay, do I really want to keep doing this? I've been in this industry for the past 10, 15, 5, whatever years. Do I want to keep doing this for one specific employer? Or do I really want to venture out on my own and start my own situation?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people use that as the stepping stone to, well, I'm laid off anyway, and I'm getting unemployment to maybe help take care of some of my responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try this business thing.
Gotcha.
Or some people take that as the opportunity to dig down deeper and try to get further into their industry based on the connections they have, which I'm also going to use that as a shameless plug to say, do you have a LinkedIn profile, folks?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have one? It's literally as easy as, if you have a functioning resume, please upload it. And then there's other things that you need to do to catch the attention of the right employer.
Got you. Now,
Are you have connections on LinkedIn? I'm sure there's coworkers that you probably haven't seen 5, 6, 10 years that are on LinkedIn that you can connect with, just like you do on Facebook. Connection is not only for poops and giggles. It's also for professional purposes as well, and that's where LinkedIn comes in.
right.
Yes, I'm doing my ever dear best to stay PC, but at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you have those connections. Do you want to stay within your industry? You already have connections. If you've been in an industry for 5 years, the likelihood of you knowing someone else that's in the industry that may not be at the same company with you anymore, may know of a position that's coming up, you can make those connections.
Okay.
Hey, ping them on LinkedIn, or you on the phone. You see these thing here? Yeah, this thing. It ain't just to go on. It's not just to go on Facebook and Twitter and all the, well, not Twitter. Twitter is going through their own changes right now. But it's not just to go on to Tiki Talkies and all this other things.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it to call somebody. Hey, how you doing?
Oh, you froze. I don't know if you're still here with us. Give us a sign. Send us a smoke signal. All right. I don't
At
know.
your company?
There she is.
Yeah, we got cut off there for a second. Internet looked like it's tripping today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's a little spotty.
Yeah. So it's like, do you guys have any openings, or do you know of anybody that has any openings? You could send them my information. I could just send you a link. You can send it to them, whatever. Just call me, let me know. It ain't got to be the job that you've been doing for this, but it could be a subset of it. So that's if you want to stay in your industry. Now, if you want to go left field and completely change your career, you could do that too. But what I've always talked about, I have a few career change series on my YouTube channel as well, talking about what the steps are. What is it that you have right now that are transferable skills that it can be taken to a completely different industry? If you're a teacher, can you be a corporate trainer? Absolutely. There's a lot of the similar skills. It's just that you have a very different audience. Or if you are a buyer for a boutique, can you use that to source for talent as a recruiter? you might be, if you dig enough, you can find some transferable skills. It
All
just
right.
depends.
I have another question for you now. So, are you saying, or let
Hmm.
me ask you, because I want to throw a scenario at you. Are you saying
Hmm.
that, regardless of whether or not a person is laid off, should we
Right.
go into the job? Obviously, we're going to do our job. We're not going to quiet quit, at
Hmm.
least for the first 6 months anyway. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically do our job. We're going to do it great. We're going to make sure we meet
Hmm.
all our metrics. But
Hmm.
as a consummate professional, do you recommend that people go into their job with the idea, or at least with the should they function as if the layoff could come any day, meaning keep your resume up, keep those contacts, go to events, keep the LinkedIn up to date, hire a career coach like you? Like, when I get this job, should I go in anticipating layoff, or at least create some sort of cushion for myself professionally in case I get laid off?
I have three words: always be prepared.
ABP.
ABP. Or
Hmm.
there's another one that I'm sure anybody that's been in corporate for any amount of time, CYA.
Okay, I
Okay.
got you.
You always want to be ready, because when they decide to do massive layoffs like these folks, sometimes, well, some of them have to abide by, they have to abide by certain laws. They have to give them 60 days notice. Although Mr. Twitter fingers didn't get that message. I digress. But he doesn't think he has to abide by those laws, so he's being sued for that currently. But outside of that, um, most employers are not giving you a warning
Hmm.
when it comes to mass, like a set layoff. It's like, okay, well, this department has to go because now we have 5 robots that's doing 20 people's jobs.
Hmm.
That's an operational decision. It has nothing to do with the 20 people that was in that department.
Hmm.
That it just is what it is. But when it comes to making sure that you are prepared for any type of movement, always keep your resume updated.
Hmm.
That's one. Two, always network within your field that you want to remain in.
How does one go about networking?
You can do it offline or online or offline. Are you a
Hmm.
part of groups on Facebook, that industry groups on Facebook or on LinkedIn?
Hmm.
Are you in meetup.com? Are you in local chapters? For me specifically, my next move, although I've been here a few years, but my next move is to join the chamber for the SHRM, Society of Human Resources Management, group in
Hmm.
my city.
Got you.
That's an industry group. Um, that pretty much has HR managers, safety managers, anybody that's tied to HR, recruiters, you name it. And
Hmm.
recruiters are always looking for somebody.
Right.
Those are people you always want to have connections to. You always want to have connections to, as a professional, 2 or 3 recruiters in your industry. Maybe a phone call or two away, or an email or two away.
Hmm.
You always want to, depending on what level you get to, be able to do contract work with agencies, because you never know when you're going to need them.
Hmm. I
Always
get
keep
you.
the door open. Right. Always keep the door open for things. And of course, career coaching is something that you should always have on the back burner, on retainer. There next year there's going to be some retainer type services that I offer for people that want ongoing coaching. Because at the end of the day, you have to, if you're going to become a better version of yourself professionally, that's not just a one and done type of situation. That's a continuous effort, continuous improvement.
Hmm.
When we're talking about lean management and Six Sigma, that also applies to your career. So um, you definitely want to have that on the back burner, or you have that have like how if people have attorneys on retainer, yeah, you want to have a career coach on retainer, just like people have business coaches on retainer.
All right. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, let me know if you would like to circle back to Twitter, because I do want to have a bit of a dialogue about this, because I do think that we've reached the point of the live where I'm going to challenge the career coach. All right. All right. Now, the reason I asked, or this is okay, girl, let me gather my thoughts, because now I'm like, all right. After you said everything you said, I'm like, all right, now she's getting my little juices flowing here. So, here's my thing. Now, I love what you said about going in and preparing yourself regardless, because with or without the job, the truth of the matter is you have to be prepared, because a layoff is not something that you know is coming unless you're in the know, unless you're on the earnings calls, unless you're really paying attention beyond your actual scope of work. Most people don't know that these things are coming. Now,
True.
the thing that I noticed amongst each one of these companies where we're seeing the massive layoffs, where it's, Amazon, Twitter, obviously, Facebook, whoever, right? I'm noticing
Mhm.
it's all in the tech space. However, the interesting thing that you'll notice about the tech space, and the only reason I think we're hearing so much about it, is because a lot of these people that are talking, they're in a certain age group. That's all I'm going to say. I don't believe that these are very seasoned employees that are giving this information out. So I think there's a bit of a shock that's going through these companies right now, because a lot of these younger people are starting to see, oh, this is what life looks like. Life actually happens, and I could get blindsided and not have a job. And the reason I say this is because what was so interesting about some of the articles that I went over is that there's a few things that are not specific here about these layoffs. Number one, are these all American employees that are getting let go? Nobody's really specifying who these people
Uh-oh.
are.
Uh-oh.
The other thing is that I noticed a lot of people that are here on visas are getting let go as well. Because, see, when you have to cut costs, you have to think about who on my team costs me the most money. Younger people that want a lot of money, positions that are temporary in nature, because we need you to launch a feature, and once it's done, we don't really need you anymore. If you're not coming up with new fresh ideas, do we really need you? The other thing is that in the tech world, experience booms and busts all the time. Everybody probably thought MySpace was going to be around forever, right? And at the end of the
Who would have
day,
thunk it?
there you go. That's all I'm saying. So when you think about it, a lot of these jobs where I understand how people are wanting to get up in arms about it, like, oh, it's so wrong. Yes, I do believe what Twitter's doing is not okay. But when I look at these other companies, the deeper we dive in, it's almost like these folks jumped in thinking this was going to last forever. And if you're seasoned in the game and you've had a job for at least 10, 15 years, like a lot of us, you already know there's ebbs and flows, especially with newer industries, like these are baby industries, if we're being honest, as far as like, the what am I trying to say here? I never went to a job where there was a gym there. I never went to a job where there was, I don't know, playrooms and stuff like that, where I could just go, play with coworkers and play games and video games and stuff like that. And I never had that many perks. And I think you're frozen. Are you still with us? I think she's gone. Okay, so I'm going to wait until Shelly comes back in here. But what I wanted to talk about with you guys, let me see if I can actually share an article here, because I found it very interesting that when we talk about these tech companies that are laying people off, they're not telling y'all who is actually being laid off here. I don't think all 3,500 people that were fired from Twitter are American employees. I don't. Now, what I will say, though, also, if you go to like the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, what you will find is that it's very expensive to employ Americans as well. So I know there was probably there she is. There was probably a really good, I was just saying that it's very expensive to employ Americans. So what I find is a little unfortunate here is that a lot of these tech companies, again, they experienced a boom. They brought a lot of people in and they made a lot of promises. However, because of the fact that they were in that boom um, time in their company, they're now experiencing that time where they have to level off. And once they start to level off, they're going to see who's redundant and who isn't. That's really what this is. And at the end of the day, they have shareholders, they have a bottom line they have to meet, and they have to bring in new, fresh ideas. Right.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
One, you made a couple of interesting points there. I said I have to piggyback on that. Is it the employees from that are being hired that are overseas, that are on visas, that are primarily being let go? Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's costing the employers the most money? That's perhaps probably who's on top of the list. I'm putting my HR hat on right now, HR consultant hat.
Right.
And they're going to let go of who is costing them the most.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that person is handling several positions or key duties for them, if they feel like they can get through it with an amateur that they're paying half the salary, they're going to do it. Although sometimes that's to their detriment, but
Right.
they're going to do it. At least when Facebook/Meta was doing that, he was very, at least from what was reported, that he was very apologetic with his termination. Salesforce was the same way. They showed a lot of remorse in their whole spiel. And now, of course, behind closed doors, when the press is in there, we don't know what's really going on. But from what was communicated through some of those articles that I've perused, they're very, they're very apologetic, especially because it is close to Christmas time and things, that it's kind of like the worst time that this could happen.
Mm-hmm.
But they also most likely don't want to carry that type of expense into the new year. There may be board decisions that might be tied to that, maybe fiscal decisions that might be tied to that. There may be other issues tied to that. As far as the type of employees, it's going to be the ones that cost them the most, for sure. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be, hello, Joan, welcome to the show.
Hey, girl.
Yeah, so it's going to most likely be tied to people that's costing them more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm sure 2 years ago when what happened, a lot of these companies beefed up on staff because they had to close some of their doors for a while, and then they also had to, because a lot more people were having meetings this way, like we are on the phone, versus meeting in person or handling duties in person, things of that nature. I'm sure, know for sure, Zoom definitely made a whole lot of money during this whole shutdown. So there are companies like Zoom and other companies, and in that time frame, even Google revamped their conferencing system. It's Google Chat now? What do they call it? Google Meet. Sorry, Google Meet. So during this whole shutdown, they've developed their own meeting system because it was something that the marketplace was requiring heavily because of what's going on. So I think on a certain level, Facebook was looking into developing their own meeting platform as well, outside of just being a social media platform. They were looking more to move into the business sector. I think I think Meta is the result of some of that, where they're meeting in certain rooms, and I think there were some businesses that were taking them up on that offer as far as developing that piece of their business. That there may have been some pieces of that fell through the cracks or didn't work out as planned. As far as Twitter is concerned, Lord, where do I start?
Begin at the beginning. Let me see. If I share, I wonder if it'll take us both off the screen. Let me see. Let's see. Let me know.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Here we go.
We're good. Mm-hmm. Ex-Twitter employees are left in limbo with thousands.
Oh, these are the
expenses.
Girl, I'm sorry.
After Elon Musk.
So let's go ahead. Okay, let me just clarify. Okay, so I pulled up a lot of different articles because you know how I am. I'm just like all over the place. So what I noticed is that after I read a lot of these articles, again, these were just people, some of them, a good portion of them, I'm gonna be honest, because as they're talking to them, they're starting to really tell on themselves. And at the end of the day, these were people that weren't really working extra hard. And they weren't people that were really looking at this realistically, because when you are working for a company, and number one, we have to be honest, they're in the tech space, they're in the app space. I'm pretty sure those companies run in a little bit of a different fashion, because I have a relative, my brother is actually in esports, and maybe I can get him on the channel one day, but he works in esports and he makes a good amount of money. But when he was 5 or 6 years old, he would have never thought he could get the job that he has now. The position that he has, he's a director within one of these companies, and he's only like 30, 31, you know. However, with his skill set, he's able to go from place to place if he wants to. But his position is based on relationships. A lot of what I've noticed is happening with these people is that, you know, they're taking on these jobs for these temporary, you know, they're temporary in nature as far as the jobs that they're taking, because they're developing new features like we talked about. They are a lot of these positions were traveling a lot, and that's why I pulled up the one about expenses, the article there, because it talked about people are now looking for you know, to be reimbursed now that they got fired or they got laid off. But when you read the article, you start to kind of realize, and girl, I'm gonna get back on track, don't worry, but it's like when a layoff is coming, you gotta kind of know, because I know Elon to be off the Richter scale. Like, the dude is weird, man. He's flighty, right? Anytime your company is going to get purchased, anytime your company's in the media, you know, and there's going to be a buyout, heads are going to roll. I don't care who you are. Heads are going to roll. It doesn't mean it's going to be yours. But what I'm saying is that it seems like the ones getting let go are people that are very inexperienced in how jobs work. Because had they talked to you first, they would have already known they should have been getting prepared the minute it was on the radar that he was going to buy Twitter.
I'm rocking back and forth because
you saw how fast he left California, didn't you?
Anybody that has read at least one article. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. I've worked in the private sector. I've worked in the public sector, mostly private. Anytime there is going to be a change of guards, be ready to pack up yourself and go. And I'm not speaking of that in the figurative sense. I'm speaking of that in a very real sense. Here's why. Seeing it for myself scared me half to death, but I learned from that experience, because been around for a while, more than 20 years, 30 plus years. I'm telling on myself a little bit. Been working since I was a kid, you know, since I was a teenager. But I've been through several mergers and acquisitions, so to speak. If there's one thing that, if you guys don't learn anything else about mergers and acquisitions, that usually precedes a layoff. Sometimes of a small or of a mass proportion. Okay? I was working for a company where the senior manager of our department had been a senior manager for a couple of years when I was, you know, while I was there. I ended up working at that company for several years. And this person is telling us, oh, everything is going to be fine. Oh, we're going to be working on this. And then there's some portions of your process that may change, but the team is going to be just fine. We're going to be great. This and this and that. And she's singing the praises of the team on Friday. Monday morning, that same person that was singing the praises for the team is no longer with the company. Talk about unpredictable. Talk about the unpredictability of that. So you know what that taught me? Anytime there's a change of hands, or as far as ownership of a company is concerned, be ready to bounce. Be ready. Because you never know whose head's going to roll. Because most companies, when they're coming, they're already coming with their leaders. So 9 times out of 10, leadership is going to get knocked out first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say people have to pay attention, because I've done a lot of reading this week, and I'm not going to have the conversation here. That would have to be behind a paywall. But I found out so much information about like a company that I'm affiliated with, and what kinds of investments they've been making lately. And it's interesting. That's all I'm going to say. Because one of the very big controversies right now with, I believe it's FTX, a lot of companies that you all wouldn't expect to have invested in them actually did. I encourage anybody to go look at that list, because if your company is on that list of investors, that's part of that 1.4 billion or whatever it is that's not going to get paid back because the owner of that company is filing for bankruptcy. You could very well get laid off. So pay attention. Now, I wanted to ask you. That this helps me segue, because I don't think I said anything incriminating for myself. But now, if you were to say, if I were to come to you, do a consultation and all that good stuff, what are some signs other than a change of guard? What are some signs that I want to look for if there could be some layoffs looming? What should we be looking for?
Things to look for.
Let's do top three things.
Top 3 things, because there's a whole lot more. Top 3 things: your duties or the duties of your department change, and not in a good way. Meaning that, you're no longer handling this. This is going to this department. And you start realizing that pieces of your job or pieces of your team's job is being assigned to somebody else, or is being assigned to different departments then. Or your boss is starting to take on a regular basis some of your duties. That might be a ding, 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 ding. Yeah. 2, there's a lot more oversight in what you're doing. There's going to be, it may result in more documented discipline, or it may result in a lot more, let's pull you into a meeting and discuss how you're handling said responsibilities. Or maybe you need to, it's almost like it starts to nitpick in a sense. That may be another sign. Or in the case of one of my previous employers, we literally were told, they were at least upfront with this, we were told that they were putting the jobs overseas. So we had to actually train the people that were going to replace us. Yeah. So, yeah. So that top 3, those are like the 3.
I'm only laughing because I'm like, wait, how do I say that? So number 3, we gonna say they tell you.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of companies that were doing that around that time, and that ended up backfiring, because they ended up having to bring those same job duties back, because once it went over there was there's no real checks and balances. It's in another country. They don't necessarily, maybe not as strong as it is now. Um, they're not necessarily operating at the same level that the company wanted. So a lot of things fell through the cracks. And they end up having to bring a lot of that stuff back to the US. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
just some of the things. Like all of a sudden it's this and this and that. Oh, don't worry about it. We're gonna do an update soon. Or there's this looming thing that they're kind of saying but not saying.
Right. Right.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes it's vague and sometimes it's very direct. Like they tell you,
Yeah.
like this is what's gonna be. Deal with it.
And I also think that it does depend on what type of job you are going into. Like if you're in a
Yeah,
job where the industry is
yeah, it
constant
does.
change, expect it, especially if you're not getting recertified, getting new certifications, not furthering your education, taking advantage of some of the perks. Like if they pay for your education, get that damn education while you're there. Okay, get your tuition reimbursement. If you need
Oh,
to get 3 pairs of
facts.
glasses that you're gonna wear for the next 10 years of your life, get them while you there.
Please
Okay.
do.
I'm just saying to kind of piggyback off of what you said, it's like, wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute now. If they start telling you something's coming down the pike, get yourself prepared. I cannot tell you how many jobs I had where girls just got the job to get some quick health insurance and then they took off. Now, I wanted
Oh,
to share
oh wow.
I wanted to
Oh
share
wow.
I wanted to share something with the crowd really fast
Oh my goodness.
because girl, I knew a girl that started a job in telecommunications with me just to get gastric bypass. When she lost all that weight, she was ghost. She was like, I'm out. Because we had a lot of changes.
Wow.
We had a lot of changes during that job too. So she already saw it coming. She was like, let me just go ahead and get skinny and be done with it.
Be like, handle my
Now
business. I'm out. Oh, okay. Gangsta movements. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
now I came across this article here from LinkedIn that talks about who gets laid off. So that's kind of why I
Mhm,
wanted to talk about, some signs
mhm.
that we want to look for,
Yeah.
because I do think some of your signs are closely connected to, again, the types of jobs that some people are taking on.
True.
So in the article here, it does, and it's pretty recent, it was
Mhm,
September of this year. They
mhm,
talk about how the onset of the pandemic led to huge waves of layoffs. Now, we all know
mhm.
that even though there were layoffs there, that actually the counter response or reaction to that was that certain industries actually required more employees, which was a really good thing.
Right.
Now, because a lot of employers actually needed jobs,
Mhm,
these numbers here were what kind of struck me,
mm.
because it says here that if you are a new employee, just in general, just
Right.
expect to get laid off, because we know last in, first out, that whole theory, right?
Mhm,
But what I thought was really interesting here, and I wanted to get your perspective on it as an HR professional, the
mhm.
representation of the roles in the layoffs. Now, the people that are getting laid off the most is why I guess am not having so much sympathy for these tech workers that we're talking about, because if you look at this, the scale here, or the chart here, I don't know if you can see it that well here. Let me
Mhm.
zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah.
What you'll see is that representation of roles in layoffs, the most overrepresented, you know, uh, employers or employees or industries, um, recruiting, which is interesting because I guess I would expect that to stay pretty level because people are getting fired, but then we need to find new talent, right? Um, but I guess recruiters get laid off the most out of everybody because, again, if we are doing layoffs, then I guess we don't need to actually have a recruiter on staff, do we?
Yes and no. It depends on the what's driving the layoff.
And the next one, we had customer service specialist,
CSRs. All right.
right?
Okay.
Now that I can understand because honestly speaking, that's one of the most easiest industries that you can outsource. We're not gonna go there because we don't do that on this channel, but I'm pretty sure that we hear lots of different accents when we call customer service for any company USA. There's a reason for that. Now, when you talked about number three, which was they tell you they're outsourcing, well, that's what they're doing. Um, and I can speak on that because a lot of people in business, especially entrepreneurs, their virtual assistants, their people that do their scheduling and all that stuff, those are people that are in other countries and they get paid like maybe $5 an hour. It's
I hate to break it to you, that's part of the reason the recruiters are at the top. That's being outsourced.
well, there exactly. Now, it's tough because I can see why this is happening, because on one hand it is these major companies doing it, but it's
Right.
also your entrepreneur, your grassroots business owner that
Mhm.
does not have the money to pay a US citizen $15 an hour plus benefits and whatever else they may demand, right? So it's a little tough. It is. It's tough because I'm not going to say whether I'm guilty of this or not. Moving on. The last three, the last three areas that are overrepresented when it comes to layoffs:
Mhm.
software engineer, data
Hmm.
scientist, and
Okay.
UX designer. The UX designer is exactly who I talked about before. You create new features and then we don't need you anymore.
A lot of that is outsourcing. A lot of these positions that are taking the top roles being laid off, there's a lot of consultants
Mhm.
that are handling a lot of that on a case by case or by project basis. If you have any kind of experience in any of these fields, and you do not want to be on the layoff list, I suggest you look into becoming a consultant, because the
It's
services
true.
are absolutely needed, but maybe not on a full-time basis.
Right.
And you can make the choice on what type of clients you actually work with, because
Now,
UX design is important. Like UX design, data
mhm,
scientists, recruiters. Let's say, for example, we know business owners that have 5, 10, 15 people on their team. They
mhm,
may need somebody specific. They're going to need a recruiter to help them find that person. And
right.
depending on what percentage that recruiter charges, then they'll go ahead, instead of them having to do all the sourcing and all the sourcing to make sure the person is qualified, and then set
Mhm,
up interviews and this and that and all the things that go with recruiting.
mhm.
Then they're just gonna have somebody else do it and pay them a fee.
That and that's why I thought it was so interesting, because everything you
Mhm.
just said, it's like, okay, when we look at these titles here,
Right.
what struck me is here are the people that are underrepresented, because see, these are the people that are more on the operational side. So
Ah.
the people that are getting laid off the least: technology lead, because there
Mhm.
you go, they got the head, because it's
Mhm.
very easy to replace all the other people. It's fine, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Corporate trainer, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Auditor. Hey, hey, hey. That one's close to my heart,
Yes. Yes.
because people are always going to need people to manage their money, do the math, see who needs
Mhm.
to stay and who needs to go. So auditors are always going to be in demand, okay, until the
Mhm.
machines take over that job.
Mhm.
Technology analyst, because
Mhm.
again, the technology analyst is going to pretty much work with whatever the UX designer created and the data scientist and the software engineer.
They have to make sure it's working properly and make adjustments
Exactly.
and woo woo woo. Right.
So your analyst is always going to be needed.
Right.
And then your project manager, because after the remote work situation started, a lot of people have proven themselves not able to perform at home. For every
Mm.
one that does perform, I'm going to tell you there's got to be two or three that don't perform as well. There has to be, just because some people just don't get it. Okay? They take advantage. And that's what I'm
And
noticing.
and unfortunately, you have some of the. I'm not going to name out um a specific generation, because they're slackers and then they're hard workers in every generation. Um, if you're able to focus for more than 5 minutes on a computer to send an email or to set something up, very simple, something simplistic on a computer, if you can focus, narrow out, push every distraction out to complete a task on a computer, it should not be that difficult to do your job at home. But there's some people that have the concentration of an ant. So, whether
Mhm.
they're physically at work or not, they're going to have a problem regardless, because that's
Mhm.
just their work ethic. Your
Right.
work ethic and your priority and how you handle just your job in general um, is going to determine how well you perform when you're working from home versus working in the office.
Mhm.
I can personally attest to working harder because I'm working from home. Number one, you're going to get more hours out of me. And two, it's less disturbance and less distractions. Of course, people that have small children at home is going to have a whole different experience. Or a dog that wants attention, or cats that wants attention all the time.
Mhm.
Everybody's experience is different, but people have enough space in their home for a home office. They can kind of close away and lock away and be focused on what it is that you're doing. So it just
Right.
depends. It just depends.
Right. And I it's okay because you don't have to say it. But I'm glad that you mentioned that there is a certain group of people that does get laid off more than others. Now, I don't want to say that because you're in this age range that you are in danger, but you are. Now, there are some reasons for this. So let me just go ahead and put it out there, guys. Now, and I want to make sure I say this during this show. If you are a
Mhm.
millennial,
Oh Lord,
okay,
she said it.
if you are between, no, this, and these are statistics that are out there, guys. If you're between the ages of 30 and 45 years old, you are more likely to get terminated. Now, it's not just because that you have the attention span of a goldfish, because you do, but I am an older millennial, so I can say that. But here's the thing,
Well,
because
40 is not necessarily a millennial. That's Gen
for
X.
say 40 whatever. The girl, let them know. But okay.
39, child, 39, 39.
So and you know what? No, thank you for correcting me, because here that this is what I meant to say.
Mhm.
Millennials and mid-career aged people. So that's 30 to 45, because you're kind of still in the middle somewhere if you're not in
Yeah,
management yet, I guess.
right, right.
Um
You have
but
some expertise under your belt.
yeah, and it's because millennials make up right now, if my numbers are correct, they make up about 74% of the workforce. So they account for about 94% of layoffs. The reason is they're the biggest generation of people that are in the workforce right now. So because you're the biggest, like, you know, population, you're going
Mhm.
to experience the most as far as the layoffs go. So that's why I think this is really important information that people should pay attention to. Sometimes it
Mm,
doesn't matter that you're that skilled. Like we talked about, first in, first out. A lot of millennials that are now maybe 5 or 6 years into their job, yes, the people below you are going to be first in, but I don't know many 45 and 46-year-olds that work with 18-year-olds unless you're in retail or something like that. If you're 30 to 35, you could still be considered the young person in your group at work. I was.
depending on the population you're working with, for
Girl,
sure.
yes. I was 34 or 35. Oh, Lord, I'm about to tell on myself, but I was 34 or 35 working in a corporate office. I was one of the youngest people there.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and I told you when I left, I found out that position got let go. When right before I left, then they didn't tell me nothing. Girl, I saw it. I looked up the earnings. I know what to do. I know what to do before it happens. But this is why you guys are on this video, to learn this kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, millennials make up quite a bit of the workforce. So it's nothing personal. It's just that because we make up such a big, portion of it, we are going to be the ones that are hit the hardest here. So that's why I want people to understand this. And if you line 10 of your closest friends up together, 40% of Americans have been laid off in their life at least once.
Of course.
Okay, so 4 out of your 10
Mhm.
friends have been laid off before,
Maybe more than that.
involuntarily. Exactly. So what we're talking about tonight is not something that's just far out. Okay, there are people that even
Mhm.
have YouTube channels and blogs about being laid off. So that's why
Right.
we're trying to not necessarily make it a normal thing, but we want you to understand it's not the end of the world. And
Mhm.
and realistically, what I'm saying is stop paying so much attention to the Twitters and all the, how many of you know somebody that actually works for Twitter? So when I look at this story, I don't think about, oh, it sucks because the job market's bad. I think, oh, this is an opportunity for all of us as Americans to look at what new culture is being created in the workforce.
Mm.
What you want, a young entrepreneur type boss that's a tech genius. Okay, well, this is what you're going to get. This is what you're signing up for. Get ready for this new culture of goldfish thinking, attention spans, and things like that. But I'll say this, and I'm a hush because I know you got some stuff to say. The other thing that's happening here is when you talked about the change of the guard, what I read about with a lot of these companies is even with this change of the guard and these new exciting uh, policies and procedures, these layoffs are happening because they're reverting back to the traditional workforce, coming into the office, having regular scheduled time off. They're restructuring now to get back to normal. And I believe it was either Meta or Amazon that actually said that. They said that we're trying to get back to a more traditional model because, like I said, the boom with all that, let's work at Google because it's the coolest place to work. Every company cannot afford to do that. You're not going to Disneyland every day,
You're
okay?
not, and then not
That's just to
everybody has
get you
Google money,
in.
that's for sure.
Exactly, and that's just to get you in. Like, girl, I found some numbers here that I wanted to share with y'all, just so because I feel like people don't get perspective on this, and that's why I wanted people to see, and why I don't want people to pay so much attention to the fact that people get laid off. I'm gonna just share this, and then I'll let you take over here. But okay, look at Amazon. Amazon said, I think it was, are they the ones that are getting rid of about 10,000 people? I think they said.
I think something along those lines. They're dropping a lot of people along with Twitter.
So check this out. This is Amazon, and these are
Mhm.
loose numbers, but they have 1.5 million employees in the United States.
Right.
They're letting go of 10,000, give or take. That's not a
Mm.
lot of people. And when you,
That's not a lot percentage wise, no. Mm-mm.
yes, and all you have to do, this comes in handy, Mentor Shelly. So I'm glad you said that. When I
Mhm.
go on TikTok and I look at live videos, do you know what I see?
What?
I see kids that work in the Amazon warehouse. They're literally showing you what they do every day for a living. Amazon is not firing people. They're hiring warehouse workers. They're hiring people that are there to scan things and deliver. So Amazon's not hurting. It's just that they are seeing there are some positions that are redundant and they got to go. That's really all it is.
And they have some technologies that's going to be taking over some of those very duties. So,
Totally. If you
yeah.
get on TikTok, you'll see that when you look at the job, it's actually kind of crazy. They call them pickers, but they're the ones that put the stuff in the they take the product and put it on the conveyor belt and stuff.
Right.
When you look at that job, you can totally tell they are
They're
literally,
preparing it for a machine.
there you go, girl. You're watching research and development happen. You guys got to learn how to get online and get on these apps and look at this stuff as a little more than entertainment because I recognize that. I'm
Oh yeah,
like,
well, oh okay, because um, let's say a manufacturing plant, so to
mm-hmm,
speak. Let's say a Kroger plant. I'm just going to use Kroger as an example,
mm-hmm,
right?
right.
10 years ago, right? There are Kroger branded products that are sold in their retail chains,
Mm-hmm,
right? Like how Walmart has, because the next largest employer, the first largest employer that you see on that list is Walmart.
yeah, and this is for the
Um,
United States. So, yep.
right. So 10 years ago, let's say I'm not gonna show the actual face of this.
All right, you want me
Let's
to?
say they were, yeah, let's just say they were manufacturing this sauce, right?
Mm-hmm,
In their food plant, not warehouse, food plant. That
mm-hmm,
means it goes from ingredients to product before it goes out the door, right? Let's say they had machines initially just to squirt this in the container, right? 10 years ago. Do you know what that food plant has done in the last 10 years? Not only and not only say so they all they had was the machine to squirt this amount of sauce into the container. But they had in before that they had humans lining up these containers empty in the machine as it's going down a conveyor belt, right? And then once the liquid gets squirted in here, then they have another person on the other end of that sealing the top. And then there's a machine that clamps down to make sure that seal doesn't come off. That's 10 years ago. What's happening now? There's no humans involved in that process. What's happening now is that they have another machine making and putting this on the line, right? The actual container. Then they have another machine squirting the liquid in. They have another machine putting this thing over and sealing it at the same time. Two processes that just got combined into one. And they have another machine placing this in a specific, like a carton or a case, depending on how many come in this. Put that in a carton box, right? With, let's say, 20 of them in there. And then they also have then they take that particular carton that has a 20 in there and put it in a case box. And then they have that machine, once they stack up a certain amount of cases, they have them put it in the shipping room. And then when it's time for it to be shipped out, because all of these things have dates, right? So 10 years ago, a machine was only handling one piece of the process. Now, the machines are handling the entire process.
Girl.
You see what I'm saying?
Listen.
So a lot of what Amazon and a lot of what these technology companies may be, I'm going to almost guarantee that's what's driving Amazon's layoffs. Yeah. Because they on behind the scenes, they're a very progressive company. Mm-hmm. So they're working to get a machine that's programmed to stack pallets. You have pallet people that are called palletizers in the manufacturing industry now that stack those pallets as a human. Mm-hmm. If you program a machine or a robot to do that, they're going to program it to a level that it's going to outperform the human. Absolutely. That human no longer has that job.
Yes. And how about this?
That's what's happening. In a lot of ways, that's happening, especially in the technology sector. So if you want to remain relevant in the technology sector, mm-hmm. you're probably going to want to study robotics and programming of those machines.
There you go.
So if you're on the wrong end of that machine, you're going to be replaced by one.
Mm-hmm. And here's what's so interesting. I'm reading or looking at this article where, mm-hmm. The Amazon CEO, Adam Jassy, says that he's really sorry about these layoffs. He's super sorry. But guess what he said at the end of this damn article? And if this doesn't get y'all to want to get skilled up, I don't know what will. He says, we have big opportunities ahead, both in our more established businesses like stores, advertising, and AWS, but also in our newer initiatives that we've been working on for a number of years and have conviction in pursuing. Amazon Prime, Alexa, Kuiper, Zoox, and healthcare. So while they're laying people off, they are still looking up. They're like, hey, we're just trimming the fat here,
But every reputable company does that.
It's so crazy.
It's just like, this is what when you hear me say you're responsible for your own economy, do you don't think the companies are doing the same?
I'm telling you, listen.
Like this shouldn't be strange to folks. Like, hello. If they could figure out a way to do it and do it cheaper and pay less to get the same thing done. If I could figure out a way to get some gas and pay half the price and not kill nobody or do nothing illegal, why would I not do that? Like, duh.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I forget what state it is. Isn't there a state or a city out in the US that still has people pump gas? Like
I don't even. I didn't. Are you
it's
serious?
just
That still
yes,
exists?
yeah, it does. And I read an article about it. Damn it, it was this week. It's so crazy. And people were like, what
Mm.
the heck? But really, all we have to do, and I guess what I'm trying to do is I don't want to normalize layoffs, but I guess I want to just make it clear to everybody that it really is an opportunity for you to get out there and do something else. And I bring, Mentor Shelly, the career coach, on because I want you guys to understand it's not the end of the world. It could be the beginning of something really, really great for you. Now, I say this because when you walk around society, I mentioned the pumping gas because we're all being replaced little by little. We just choose not to see it. Right? When the gas pumps came out and they told the attendant, take your butt inside, they literally were able to cut probably half their workforce because all they need is one person behind the damn register. Okay. And they don't have to pay as much in insurance and probably injuries and stuff. Now, the other thing, when you go into the grocery store, yeah, these people out here, I'm telling you, Walmart, all these stores, they be lazy because now they don't have to check out groceries. People will literally back up the self checkout line. But those employees are watching their job go down the drain. They don't realize their laziness is
Ca-
promoting their demise.
Cashiers should have gotten the memo 10 to 15 years ago.
I'm telling you. And fast food, right? Because I think it's in Utah, there's a Taco Bell. You don't talk to anybody. You just go up to the drive through and then the food comes down a chute. They have one or two employees inside. Now, these are
Making the
things,
food.
yeah. And these are things they've been doing in Japan forever. Because you could go into a restaurant now in Japan. You sit, there's people in the kitchen, and there's robots that bring you out the food, and everybody thinks it's normal. They don't even do cash. You just go up and you scan your phone and you're done. Right? So this is a thing
Yeah.
that's happening, and we want you to be prepared. That's really all this is. So, Mentor Shelly, I have a question for you though. Let's say I just got laid off, okay?
Mhm.
I'm calling you because I saw you on the Credit Solutions channel. I found you on YouTube, girl. You came up in my recommended. Thank
Feed.
the Lord Jesus, right? So I'm calling you because Mentor Shelly, I need to know, what do I do after a layoff? Should I take a break? Should I try to jump back into the workforce? What would you recommend that I do as a dream career coach? What are the next steps after we're laid off?
All three of those. We're human beings, and as human beings, we're gonna need a woosah movement. Woosah. I got laid off. What am I gonna do? Ah! Nothing wrong with taking a day or two. Notice that there's a timetable on that. A day or two to woosah and get your mental together. Nothing wrong with that. But then after you do that, game plan time. What do you want to do? Do you want to, as I remember, I had addressed three of these earlier. Do you want to remain in the industry that you're in? That's one. Do you want to change the industry that you're in? Do you want to, three, create your own economy by starting a business? Depending on what direction, or you want to become an independent contractor of many kinds. There's so many opportunities out here now. Because, for example, you can become an independent contractor in the sense of, if you want to, you get some money coming in the meantime till you find what you want. Uber, Lyft. There's so many of them now. I can't even, what do you call it? Let me look on my phone. Hold on. Starting to show my age a little bit. Hold on.
You're fine.
DoorDash, Postmates. What? Well, no, Postmates got bought by Uber. Um, you name it. There's delivery. Amazon Flex. You can do that as an independent. If you can start your own. You can start your own delivery service. you know, independent courier service. If you have a truck or a van or with your car, listen, people are out here making it happen. They call it hustle culture or the gig economy, so to speak. You can become an independent contractor and do a number of those things,
Mm-hmm.
or start a reputable business in the field of study that you already have experience in,
Mm-hmm.
um, or go down that same career track, just find another opportunity in that career track, which is probably a path of least resistance because you already have the experience. Your resume is full of the experience that's already on there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to try going a different route and putting yourself in places online and offline where some of those opportunities or people that have the experience in those opportunities are.
Mm-hmm.
So have a woosah moment. But then after that, what direction are you going to go? Depending on where that takes you, that's where um, I'd be able to help you, of course, carve out, cultivate, put together strategy and a plan to get things going from there on out. As far as what a type of industry are you looking to remain in? Are you going to dig deeper and just look for something within your sector? Are you going to go to a different sector? What type of business do you want to start? Do you already have something going on the side that you can capitalize on? Or is this going to be a brand new situation for you? The direction that you go in is going to be determined by you. But whatever you decide, I can definitely help you guys with that. And because all of this is going on, I'm not sure if anybody on here is watching, but I do have something special. If you want me to talk about that now, Credit Solutions.
Go ahead, girl.
Okay. I do have a special going right now that is going to be up for Black Friday. I'm going to also have something coming out tomorrow that's included in that, but I am going to have a layoff special that is going to include a literally a career strategy if you're laid off, and also interview coaching. That's also going to be included in that. It is discounted at darn near 80% because I usually charge separately and a whole lot more for what this is. But because I also understand not just the companies that we mentioned earlier that's going through layoff, if you are truly going through a layoff right now and mentally it's kind of messing with you a little bit, let's get together. Let's talk. Let's get things going, folks, so that we can get you on the right track and get you back to where you need to be, whether it be starting your own enterprise or getting you that next job in your career field or getting you that next job in the career field completely different. If you want to get started in the gigs, until then, in either case, I want to help you make sure that you can handle your business. All right. So, of course, the links will be in the chat right now. And of course, if you have other questions, you guys can always email me at support@mentorshelly.com. Credit Solutionist.
That was great. That was great. And you guys better jump on that offer because I will tell you, honestly speaking, when Mentor Shelly told me what she even charges for it, I was like, that's it. Okay. All right. Y'all gonna see. Y'all gonna see. You gonna need this service. But I actually wanted to ask you too. Would you
Mhm.
be able to offer some folks a service like, let's say I'm already in my job and I'm working and I'm doing all that kind of stuff, but I just want to bounce my ideas off of somebody. Hey, Mentor Shelly, I'm getting these weird vibes at work. Can I just talk to somebody about it? Can I talk to you about it? And you can kind of tell me, am I tripping? Am I not? Is the writing on the wall? Like, what's going on? Like, do you only offer career coaching in the sense of help me with my resume? Or are you sometimes a sounding board for people just so they can get their career mind right?
I do have career strategy sessions for
Okay.
that specific purpose.
Gotcha.
That's a where are you right now? Where do you want to be?
Hmm.
Am I in a situation where if I look to the left and I look to the right, me and this person's gonna be gone in 5 months?
Mhm.
You don't know, and you don't know until you have to know, because of course, being in human resources, you're privy to certain information that you are not allowed to share. Because if you share it before the time, you're on chopping block too.
Mhm.
So, um, definitely, I do have that available. I do also have services where I literally review all of your career tools. When I say career tools, when I mean I've done a few reviews in a video, just giving like an oversight on what could be improved. So,
Mhm.
you know, resume and cover letters and letters of recommendation and response letters to employers and other type of lead generation type of letters. Because I hate, y'all don't realize that you do realize, guys, that in your career and in your job search or job hunting, you're still in the business of you. So you do have lead generation type of resources you can use. You do realize that, don't you? You do realize that your resume is a selling tool for you. It's a marketing tool.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Your resume
Let me get you on the camera,
is,
girl.
oh Lord. You do realize your resume is your marketing tool, correct? It's one of your most used marketing tools in your career. Because what is it supposed to have on there? In a very succinct 1 to 2 pages, how my skills, knowledge base, qualifications, certifications can help an employer increase their bottom line or eliminate waste or produce this product so it can add to their bottom line in one way, shape, or form or the other. At the end of the day, folks, it's business. You are doing business. You are not forming a relationship with an employer because they're so warm and fuzzy. Ooh, no, you're doing business just on a different level. And the employer, well, not in the case of overemployment, but your employer is your only client. You're a consultant with one client.
I love that you put it that way. Wow.
Yeah, it is. I
So,
remember the
okay.
first time I was like, that makes sense. But for real though.
Yeah. And
So
that's
many
how we
other,
should look at it. That's so
yep.
crazy. Wow.
It's just that, we give them a specific hours. Now, becoming a consultant, you can do that for several clients at the same time. You don't have to
Mhm.
limit. You do not. You are control your time, and you do not have to limit the amount of clients you have. If you can handle it, boo boo kitty, go for it and get your money. Get get your money. Which is why I'm also an HR consultant.
Very cool.
Okay.
That's really cool. And if you guys are thinking of being entrepreneurs, who knows? That might be a service Mentor Shelly will offer. What is it? Standard operating procedures and
SOPs,
yes,
process
girl.
development, lean
Mhm.
management. Once you have, depending on what level of business you are on, I do have those services available as well. If you are interested in those type of services, you can go to mentorshellyhr.com. I have that on a separate website. And you can also book consultations to talk to me about fleshing out your SOPs to conduct or put trainings together for your corporation. So the skills are here. You ready to use them? Are you ready to get your business to the next level? I do have packages available for that as well.
Very
All right,
cool.
guys.
That's so cool. Yeah, you guys hop on it because at the end of the day, you're gonna absolutely wish that you had access to somebody with all of this knowledge over a good amount of time. I'm not gonna say how long. I'll let her do that on your consultation. But I would definitely say this is a trusted source. Thank you so much for coming on and dealing with Credit Solutions craziness, y'all. I ain't gonna make no promises. I don't know if I'm gonna be here all the time, y'all. I'll be trying, but
So silly.
whenever I go live, and then, I always wish that I do it a little bit more. So I'm going to see what we can do. But thank you so much, Mentor Shelly, for coming on here, giving us some insight about layoffs. It's not the end of the world, you guys. We've all been laid off before. Yes, I've been laid off. I don't know if Mentor Shelly want to talk about her stuff, but I got laid off one good time, y'all, and I was 18 years old. But the employer did me a solid. Instead of firing me, he laid me off so I could get unemployment because I had to move away. So that was pretty cool of him. That was really cool. So, but yeah, y'all pay attention to the signs and don't get caught up in the hype of all these headlines that you see. We just encourage you to look a little bit deeper.
Skill up if necessary. Skill up.
That's all you got to do, guys. So don't get caught up in the hoopla. You don't work at Twitter, so don't worry about it, guys. Just pay attention to it and see what you can learn from it. All right. But focus on yourself. And let's close this year out really great and make 2023, the year that you really see what you're made of. All right, guys. So thank you so much to everybody that came in and out. Drop a like.
Yes.
And be sure to check out Mentor Shelly and hit that link. Mentor Shelly, one more thing before we leave. How long is that discount going to be for?
That is going to be ending on Cyber Monday.
Oh, Cyber Monday. So what, we got a week? About a week. Okay. Yeah. That's a pretty good deal. And you giving some people some time. See, girl, they always start coming in right when we about to end. I be knowing. Y'all be doing us dirty. dirty. Y'all gonna miss us when we gone. All right, it's cool. Anyway, any closing words, or are we all good, Mentor Shelly?
Closing remarks. A layoff may be a layup for your next big adventure in your career. So don't.
Oh, you better write that down.
So don't take it as the world is ending. Take it as it's the next step. It's the next chapter.
You said a layoff is a layup. Wait a minute. You better put that shit on a shirt. We gonna talk offline right now. Damn. That was good. Your layoff
say it as it's given. So yes,
I love it. Wow. All right, guys. So yeah, we're gonna call it a night, and hopefully we'll see you guys on the next one. Be sure to subscribe to Mentor Shelly as well. If you guys want us to support either of our channels, you can see on the ticker there. You can Cash App us, shoot super chat, whatever you want to do. Anyway, guys, we're so happy that you came by. It's been a while, but you'll see a lot more of us coming in the months to come. We promise. So we'll catch you guys on the next video. Credit Solutionist, Mentor Shelly, out.